Welcome back to the Obsessive Gardener. Today I'm going to amend my little kiddie pool container, planter box, whatever you want to call it, which also has a bucket worm farm in the middle, and the worms can get out into the kiddie pool as well. Alright, so I'm going to sift some compost out of that pile right there and use it to amend this kiddie pool container. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this mulch off the top and dig out the areas where I want to plant and then amend those areas. I'm going to put it all in this bucket right here to hold on to the mulch for later, to add it back to the top. You can already tell that this has so much worm casting in it. I'm not going to add any worm castings to this because there's already a bunch in here. Just look at that dirt. But I'm going to add more compost to it. Okay, that's where we're going to plant one right there. I got my sifter. I got something to catch the sifted compost. Here's the compost pile. Okay, and this is just my regular compost pile. If you've been following my composting videos, that's my wood chip compost pile. So I'm going to start with this one first. And this is just like some 2-year-old compost. I used some of it last year, but this is all the leftover, so should be good stuff. A lot of worms in here and things like that too. Alright, so I'm just going to take compost and start dumping it in here. I'm going to save all this. This is like good mulch now. There's after it's been sifted. There's still some kind of bigger stuff that got in here, but for the most part, it's pretty good. Fine compost. Alright, continue to do this until this is filled up. Okay, that should be pretty good. That looks really good. Look at that. It's good looking material right there. Alright, now time to add it to the kiddie pool container. Okay, here we are. Just going to add this in here where I'm going to plant one of my peppers. Okay, that's pretty good because I got all this too. I need to shove back on top. Okay. That's pretty good. And I'm just going to go all the way around and do the same thing all the way around the kiddie pool. Okay, there we go. I added compost to all the plant sites, and it's going to be one right there. And see, it's kind of near the pole, so when it gets big, I can tie it off up here. And I'm going to put another one right there. And then I'm going to put another one right there. And then I'm going to put one right there. And then I think I'm going to plant like a flower right here because this is a real shady area. So I'm going to put a shade tolerant flower, one that likes shade right there. And next, I'm going to add a little bit of perlite to each of these areas because they are pretty thick with worm castings that were already in here. And so I'm going to add some perlite next. Okay, I added perlite to the container. Alright, the next thing I'm going to do, which I've never done before, is I'm going to add some crimson clover seeds. And that's good for protecting the soil. It's good for the microbiology of the container or the area that it's in. It adds nitrogen back into the soil, which is key. So there's a lot of good things about crimson clover that I've read about, looked at on YouTube, whatever. And so a couple years I've been wanting to try it, so I'm finally going to try it this year. So I'm just going to sprinkle some around here. come back and mix it in too after I'm done. Okay, that should be good. I'm just gonna do this a little bit at the top. Just kind of try to mix those seeds in. Okay, I'm gonna water that clover in. I'm gonna use this melted snow water that I accidentally collected in this tub here. So it's only good rainwater, you know. So I'm gonna add that. Gonna soak it pretty good. Okay. Add some of this mulch that I took off the top back on. I'm going to try to not put it on too thick because I want the clover to be able to come up easily. I can always add more mulch later. So I'm just going to kind of do that for now. Maybe a little bit more right here. Usually I'd cover it a lot more thick, and I might later, but I want that clover to be able to come up. So anyways, that's part one of amending my kiddie pool container, complete with a worm bucket in the middle. Let's see if we can find any worms. Hang on. Okay. Here, wormies. I'm not seeing anything yet. There should be something there. I don't see it. Might be the bottom. There we go. Now we're getting into worm territory. There's one. Okay. So I may add more worms into this from my worm farm inside. I got plenty of worms in there, thousands. So I'll probably add some in here. That will help also with the amendment of this container. As the worms travel, eat food in here, travel around and forage and eat food that they find in here, and they leave their castings, aerate the soil. They're going to love the clover, and the clover also aerates the soil too. So should be some bonuses, but this is an experiment, and we'll see what happens. And I'll catch you on the next episode. See you later.